Hi there, this is Eshu. I'm the abbot here at Zenwest Buddhist Society. This Living Zen-podcast is just one of the many resources we've created at Zenwest to make Zen practice and training more available and accessible to people all over the world. Instructional videos, printable resources, and much, much more are also available on our website at www.zenwest.ca. If you're a regular listener, I'd love to hear from you. So please drop me an email at office@zenwest.ca and let me know who you are, how you got started, and what brought you to Zen. Everything we make available in person and online at Zenwest is only possible because of the support of our members and associates, people like you. If the efforts of our community are making a difference in your life, I'd like to invite you to show your support and take part in making it happen by becoming an associate or member of the Zenwest Sangha. You can do this by clicking the Join Us tab on our website at www.zenwest.ca. Thank you for your support, and thanks for listening.
Today is December 8th in the Zen tradition. Today's the day we acknowledge the Buddha's awakening, his great awakening. And I'm really happy to welcome back several of our members who have just been away recently for the Rohatsu Daiseshin in Seattle with Genjo Osho. In the Zen tradition, and in Buddhism generally, the story is that the Buddha, having left home to pursue the end of suffering, to investigate the cause of suffering and finally bring an end to it, after several years of study and practice and training with different teachers, came to a point where he realized that what he really needed to do was just deeply investigate, deeply engage with the practice that he already knew in his heart from his own childhood. A simple, balanced, straightforward, open-hearted sitting. And so he sat down under the Bodhi tree, and he committed to sitting there, practicing right in that spot until he had seen through attachment and the cause of suffering. And in the stories, in the tradition, it said that this lasted for 7 days. And on the morning of the 8th day, when the morning star arose in the sky, he had a great awakening. And so in the Zen tradition, each December, late November, early December, depending on when it works, it's our tradition to hold a sesshin, or an intensive period of practice, to acknowledge and align our own heart's effort with this realization of our founding teacher, the historical Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, who we call Shakyamuni. And it said that on the 8th day, he had this great awakening. And so I think it's a reasonable question to ask what awakening is. A lot of the time when we're listening to people speak about Buddhism, one of the terms that's frequently used in relation to Buddhism is enlightenment. And for those of you who know me and who have practiced with me, which is most of you, you know that I do everything I can to avoid this word enlightenment. It's not an accurate translation in any way of either the experience or intention behind Buddhist practice, the practice of awakening. It's a word that was taken up by English-speaking people talking about an essentially foreign religion. And the period that they were talking about it in was known as the Enlightenment era. And so, of course, if something good happens in something and we're in the Enlightenment era, it's probably a good idea to call that enlightenment. But the word is bodhi, and it's used a lot in Buddhism. In fact, the word Buddha means the one who is awake. And so if we refer to something as Buddhism, we should understand that it's not a thing, it is the practice of awakening itself. Somebody who engages in this practice of awakening is a bodhisattva. Again, this word bodh, awakening, to awaken, comes up. Bodhisattva just means a being of awakening. And I can give whole talks about that word alone. But for tonight, suffice to just understand that what we're talking about is this practice of awakening. Awakening to what? Another term that's often used in connection with Buddhism is Buddha nature. And I'm always very careful when this phrase comes up, because having grown up in a Judeo-Christian country and a Judeo-Christian culture, I think that if we're to understand what Zen and Buddhism are pointing to, we have to be very careful not to fall into traps of our own conceptualization or idealization. When the Buddha had his great experience of awakening, it said that he exclaimed, "Wonder of wonders, already we are all awake, but we fail to realize it." One of the fundamental tenets, one of the foundation teachings in this practice is that there is nothing outside of you to seek. There is nobody that can give you something that you don't already possess. There's no wisdom that you can obtain from outside. Already, you are complete just as you are. Lately, as many of you know, I've been getting involved with the theater community again. I say again because before I really got into Zen practice, and one of the things that really led me to Zen practice was my involvement in theater. And I almost use the term theater practice now. And the aspect of it that really steered me more strongly towards Zen was the investigation of the nature of character. As you can see, I'm not the handsome romantic lead, as much as I tried. I would often get cast as frightening people, villains mostly, abusers and violent people. And so in order to be genuine in the role, I had to really investigate the nature of those characters. I had to sort of dive into the dark side of my own mind, of my own heart. And what I found was that if you try to play a villain as a bad guy, as the incarnation of this thing called evil, it comes off really two-dimensional and flat. And what I found was the actual key to playing difficult characters was in finding, first of all, empathy and compassion. And I started to understand that all of these terrible characters didn't wake up in the morning and say, I want to do bad stuff today. I want to cause death and destruction. There's no evil wizard in the tower. Each of these people wakes up and experiences the things that we all experience every day. Fear, hunger, desire. Based on the experiences that we all have habitual ways of behaving. Culturally, we have habitual ways of behaving. Personally, and in our family, and in our cultures, we've figured out ways to dehumanize and separate and divide and excuse and justify every manner of behavior. And what I started to realize was that a villain is only a villain if their needs are in conflict with your needs, or somebody else's needs, or the person that we're identifying with's needs. If I smash you in the face and take your money, maybe to you I'm a villain, but to me, I'm a great guy. I just got a whole bunch of money. How wonderful. I've taken care of my needs. Maybe I need to buy food. Maybe I need to buy medicine for my sick mother. Who knows? But I started to realize that good and evil and my ideas of self and other, inside and outside, subject and object, an idea of absolute right and absolute wrong were really subjective. They're based on a very fixed point. Me, I, whatever spot that I'm occupying. And it's no different in a fictitious character than in this thing that you call I, me, who I am. From the perspective of Buddhism, all of these selves, this self that you've got built for you, that's got a history and experiences and conditioning and culture and all that kind of stuff, it's no more real, tangibly real, than any character in any story or any play or any movie. We're deeply invested in that character. We're deeply invested in that role, and we're deeply invested in the emotions and habits that are associated with that role. But in the end, it's a very temporary, very transient, and very subjective perspective and view. And the thing is that with a little bit of intention, with a little bit of awareness, and with a little bit of effort, when we apply ourselves to transforming that character, it moves. When we change from socializing with one group of people to another group of people, that thing that we take as being permanent, fixed, me, absolutely, unconditionally me, it moves, it changes. When we take it out of this circumstance over here and move it across to this side of the country or another country, damn, it moves. This practice of awakening is to recognize that all of the things that we can experience and see and touch and make relationship with in this world are exactly the same in that way. They are subjective. They're based on causes and conditions. They come into being, they exist for a time, they dissolve, they decay, and eventually they disappear entirely. Everything in this world is the same. The question from the perspective of Zen is, from what does this arise? And to what does it return? We're fooled by the lights and the characters and the shadows and the circumstances and the sets and the props. We see something we like and we want it, we need it. I can't be complete without it. We see something that we don't like and we have to be away from it. We've got to get rid of it. We've got to avoid it. We're scared of it. We take it all as very real. But if we can just, for a moment, step back and see through the sets and through the characters and through my own attachment to this particular character, we can see the master, the origin, the source, what's sometimes referred to in Buddhism as our true nature. This nature is not a thing that you can grasp or that you can have or that you can possess. And not because it's not there, but because what is it that you're going to grasp it with? Where are you going to put it? Already, this nature is your complete content. Already, this nature is the complete content of all things in this vast cosmos. Already, every circumstance that you come into, every environment that you walk through, every being that you meet, every object that you touch is nothing other than the fruit, the transforming manifestations of this fundamental nature, your nature. When we talk about the Buddha's awakening, we're fundamentally talking about this realization sinking in. Nothing descended down onto the Buddha, and in your own practice, nothing is going to descend on you from outside that you don't already have. It's impossible for me to give a talk or make a clap or shout and suddenly something descends from heaven and wow, I'm enlightened. All you've got to do is turn around your perspective, turn around your view, and recognize that all of these things that you've been holding as outside of yourself, as separate, all of the things that you've been chasing after, and all of the things that you've been running away from are already nothing other than your own limitless, boundless, undying nature. This is the realization that all of the practice that we do is pointed at. This practice is aimed at directing us towards seeing this, directing us towards realizing this. But it's important to recognize that this practice isn't required to realize that. When we're playing a piece of music, we can recognize that that music is not coming from us. It is the manifestation of this fundamental nature. When we're embracing the person that we love, that connection is not arising from me or that other person, but it's arising through us from this original source. And the more that we're able to simply get out of the way and allow that light to shine through, the more we are able to manifest awakening in life. The more we are able to walk as bodhisattva, a being of awakening. I'm going to stop there. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Living Zen podcast. If you follow Living Zen through iTunes, I would very much appreciate it if you would take a moment to let me know what you think about it by rating or reviewing the podcast, so that new listeners can also hear what you have to say. Thank you for your time and for your support.